the survival of this nation, and I'm old enough to know that. We need to continue to build his fight for women's equal rights, for racial and economic justice, for a compassionate and caring society, social programs that include daycare, family leave, a clean environment, free public education, and healthcare, and so much more. And we need to say, as Bernie does, to the billionaires that are controlling us and our government, enough is enough, and we won't take it anymore. Yeah. Thank you. And how do we pay for all this? People ask me this all the time. It's really very simple. By ending corporate tax loopholes and inversions overseas, and by having a fair tax system in which every corporation pays their fair share of taxes, and Wall Street and its investors pay small transaction fees, which adds up to billions in revenue. And he would reduce our bloated, unnecessary military budget, much of which is unnecessary. So we have a media that doesn't want Bernie to win. They're scared of a win by him. Wall Street is scared of a win by him. Major corporations are scared of a win by him because he might ask them to pay their fair share of taxes. He may place reasonable regulations on them and their products. He may work to stop drilling and clean up the planet. And he will insist that many programs should not be privatized and belong in the public sector. The corporations don't want that. The billionaires don't want that. His support is much stronger than they would have you believe on the media. But his message is what's critical. That's why we've asked these 7 fabulous women to come and speak to the various issues in their areas of expertise. Our speakers representing, we had several with the Muslim and Asian communities. They were not able to come. Some things came up. But just because they're not here does not mean that we're not represented. We care about every single woman, every ethnicity, every race, we're all equal. Our panelists will speak to the issues important to all women, regardless of all this, because that's what we care about. And the speeches will be about 5 minutes max. But before I introduce Rebecca Abraham, who's going to be the MC, and introduce the speakers, I would like to do now, get this over, what we call the ask. We usually do it at the end, but I'd rather do it now for a reason. We want you to be able to talk about this in your breakout sessions, and you can see that we put up the different sessions, just the words like economic justice or education. We're going to have you circle around, take your chairs, and go into the groups you want to go into. Okay, I do want to say about what's called the ask. We must make sure the word gets out everywhere about Bernie Sanders and what he stands for, using the social media, flyering, having house parties, going to Iowa, phone banking, letters to the editor, attending or having debate watching parties, and just volunteering when needed. And you can go to Bernie's site to sign up to volunteer and put your parties on the event page. You can blog, you can comment on Twitter, at Bernie Sanders, Facebook, Reddit, Huffington Post, and more. And do it over and over so his message stays out there. You can contact me, Sharon Sanders, or Shauna, or other leaders in your district. But we're there for you. The campaign doesn't have an official campaign office. So we are the organizers. We are doing it ourselves. They will not have a campaign official organizing office until the primaries in several states. And we have Sean here, who is in charge of in the back, sitting or hiding, who's in charge of all the petitions out there. So if you have any questions, Sean, can you stand for a second? He's the expert on petitions for the campaign. A few more things. I have a personal issue to bring it up, and so I could use your help. I have been writing to the campaign many times because I think it's critical that they do a rally, that Bernie gets here sooner rather than later for a rally. I've talked to many Blacks and Latinos who feel that they're not being hit yet by the message. And so I've written the campaign, but I can't do it alone. So I'm asking all of you who think that's the way to go. We need one in Chicago and Elgin. We could have thousands of people out. They want to hear his message to them directly. So I'm asking you as my personal thing, please send your own letters and blog over to Bernie on his Facebook site and say, just come for a short while. We just need to get you out. And my feeling is that if he gets support here in Hillary State, boy, it's going to be a nationwide support. I don't want to take up too more of your time, but If you haven't done so, we want to make sure that before you leave, you sign the delegate pages. Remember, if you're 18 by March 16th, you can do voter registration cards. You have to sign in for the delegates in the district in which you live. So please do that as well. A few more things.
Register on Illinois for Bernie.
What?
Register on Illinois.
Register on Illinois for Bernie. Thanks to Sean and Jack, who have sponsored and put together that site, correct? Yes, they have. They are amazing. Sean and Jack, can you stand up because you've done such an incredible job. Wonderful. Again, and we won't do this at the end because we're doing it now. So we have buttons available for sale. You had your coffee and your cookies and pretzels, so if you're willing or if you have a few dollars extra to help us pay for all this, which of course we're going to be short, please consider donating in the back. We'll put something there for you to put a few dollars in. We don't expect it. We're not insisting. We're just asking. After the speakers have finished, we can take about a 10-minute break. Is that correct for coffee? We're going to do that?
Yeah, there's going to be breakout.
Okay, and then we're going into our breakout session. So what you have to do is simply look up here. This is the wild card where if you're not happy with the other issues, you can come here and talk about that. But where those, you can see healthcare, education, whatever it is that interests you, just take your chairs and bring them over there. Some of the speakers will be doing the sessions with you, so that'll be great. Some can't stay. So that's where you go. Take your chairs when we're done with all the speeches. Any questions, just ask Shauna or me. We're hoping also one last time, I don't know if we'll have time for it, that we'll hear some personal stories, because everybody needs to hear personal stories and how you were able to get through the hardships often of being a woman because you're a woman. We'll see if we have time for that. And we also hope we'll have some Q&A time. We'll see how timing goes. And thanks so much for coming and being a part of this great effort to take our country back. Thanks Jack and Sean and everybody else who worked so hard to put this event together. Now I'm going to tell you about Rebecca, who's doing the emceeing, and she's a speaker, and she's going to introduce our speakers. Rebecca Abram is currently a delegate for Senator Bernie Sanders in the 5th Congressional District. She has been a volunteer in healthcare advocacy and lobbying on the state and federal level since 2012. She's a registered nurse, currently working in clinical quality at the largest academic medical center in Chicago. She also works on the boards of Mom and Baby, Mom Plus Baby, an organization that lobbies and advocates for women and children's rights in Illinois. And Shy Me, a nonprofit children's music school that does outreach to communicate to communities and schools. Rebecca, so thrilled to have you.
Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca. Nice to meet all of you. So I'm going to talk about income inequality. So I'm a nurse, you heard, and so I have good news. That's how I'm going to start this. We are the richest country in the world. Yeah. So here's that, which you may have noticed. We have the largest global inequality since 1789, the French Revolution. We have the largest gap in national inequality that we've had since 1928. We also have the largest population of childhood poverty. 1 in 6 people in this country are food insecure. And to make things much worse, we have 2 million people living below the global poverty level, making less than $2 a day. Most people think that these are people hiding in the shadows, that they don't live near us, that they're far away, they're out of sight. They clearly don't have jobs. Wrong. They are all wrong. They are our neighbors. They live in the city and they live very close to us. They work 40 hours a week and they are working just as hard, if not harder, to make it. But these are the statistics and this is how they're living. There are also signs of inequality everywhere. If we open our eyes, they're everywhere. Walk down Michigan Avenue during Christmas time, you'll see people, police officers tipping their hats and wishing Merry Christmas. You'll see storefronts with lights, people shopping everywhere. But if you stroll about 13 to 15 miles south of there, you will see businesses closed. You will see aggressive police officers, and you will see people who cannot afford their next meal, even though they're working very hard to do so. If you go into hospitals, you'll see the average people like like me and you, 1 to 10 nursing ratios, having hospitals without supplies, without doctors, without proper medicines. But then at other hospitals, you have royalty coming in and renting the floors, getting 3 nurses to 1 person, stopping the cafeteria. We also see it in our schools on the North Shore and affluent areas. They have iPads. They have the finest teachers from Harvard and Yale. But if you just go, again, 20 miles south, you see classrooms with no books, you see classrooms without supplies. So it's everywhere. What do we do? How did we get here? Over the last 30 years, we've had a deconstruction of unions. We have broken unions. Our country was at best during the period of unionization from the 1950s to the 1970s. Things started to fall apart around union busting. We also had large corporations abusing tax codes and exploiting their workers, taking small business out of the game, and then monopolizing many industries, although technically it's not a monopoly because you can't choose between Walmart and Target, but is that really a choice anymore? You also have Wall Street deregulation, and then you have the rise of acquiescence above the population. The population just kind of let it go for too long. But in 2008, during the crash, it was unveiled that we had been being cheated for the last 30 years, which brought on the rise of, many of you may have been involved, Occupy Wall Street. And people started speaking out against this, and leaders kind of came out of this movement on the national level. Leaders like Robert Reich, who was the Clinton Labor Secretary, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and then of course, Senator Bernie Sanders became the voice in this movement. So Bernie Sanders has actually been speaking about income inequality in the last 30 years. Actually, he's one of the only senators who's consistently talked about how this trickle down and this union busting is going to lead to nothing but terribleness. Actually, the press on NPR had been reporting for years how frustrated they were talking to him because they would ask him questions about other things like 9/11, and he would just want to talk about income inequality. And they were like, why is this man beating this drum? Everything is fine. It's 2002. We have the internet and like everything's great. So he's been talking about it, but now people are listening. So we have to fight and work as hard as we can to get Bernie Sanders in the White House, because he's been on our side this whole time. So he's going to be the one to bring the middle class back. No one else has been talking about it or is currently talking about it as much. What he wants to do, I'm sure we're all fairly familiar with his policies, but I'll go over them one more time just for fun. So he wants to raise the minimum wage because no one should work to be living in poverty. We also have to stop using the words unskilled labor, because all labor is skilled labor. And when we use the word unskilled labor, we're making it okay to undervalue people. He also wants to sign into law Women's Equality Act. He feels, as well as I'm sure most of us do, we have been devalued in our workplace all the time because we have children, because we take off to take care of our families, and that's why we're underpaid, and he wants to stop it. He also wants to tax Wall Street so 2008 can never happen again. He also wants to create a federal jobs program that will employ 13 million Americans, that will bring back the spirit of FDR's New Deal plan, and something similar to the WPA program, which in the 30s through 40s built parks, schools, streets, fixed infrastructure, beautiful artworks, publicly known, zoos, beaches. 13 million Americans will have jobs from that program. And then of course, he is going to tax the top 1/10 of the 1%. And that is, just that alone is enough money to pay for every person in America to go to college. Yeah, be awesome. None of these policies are totally out there. They're not these pie in the side dreams. These could really happen. So how do we do that? So it begins with us. Women mostly have been leaders. We don't get the praise, we're not in the history books as much, but we have been there the whole time. Women are the ones out there in the cold petitioning, we're out there volunteering at soup kitchens, we're out engaging in social justice with the poor, we're the teachers, we're the nurses, we're the social workers. We've always been doing this, so we just have to keep on doing it, and we have to encourage others just not to sit back. We have to keep going. So thank you, you took the first step by coming here. So from now on, grab everyone you can, and if you don't have any time, donate something. And if you don't have any money, give some time. The other thing we could do is talk to your friends, talk to strangers, talk to everyone. That whole old rule about it's not polite to talk about politics or religion, forget it. Throw it out the window. It's gone now. We don't have time for that. Things are a hot mess. We have to fix it. Talk to everyone about it. And then if, especially your apathetic friends, the people who don't vote because they don't believe in that stuff, talk to them first. Talk to your Republican friends too. And then if they still don't want to talk to you, maybe take them for a ride. Maybe, take that ride down Michigan Avenue, or start at Michigan Avenue, go from the Gold Coast, go to 55th and Union. Show them that in their backyard, there are people who are working hard and can't catch a break because we've built this corrupt system that has made it impossible for people to get ahead. Show them the video of Bernie Sanders. He has a wonderful about this because the media isn't talking about this. They're not going to talk about this. It's never coming. Bernie Sanders can get 50 billion individual donations and they still will not pay attention. So it's up to us. We have to do better, and it starts here with our vote and our support. Thanks, guys. So now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Moni Ruiz Velasco is an immigrant rights attorney. Yay. For more than 18 years, she's provided direct legal representation and counsel to thousands of immigrants and their families, LGBT immigrants, as well as other vulnerable populations, like unaccompanied minors, survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and other crimes. She works as a grassroots activist and organizes community leaders to advocate on the behalf of immigrant rights. Moni is the daughter of Mexican immigrants, is queer, and lives in Oak Park, in Illinois, with her partner Steve and 3 kids. Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Moni. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with all of the Bernie event. I'm very excited. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about myself. My parents are immigrants from Mexico. Like many people, they came to the United States, leaving their families behind, seeking a place where their children could have a better life. 20 years ago, actually almost to the day, I was just talking to my mom who's here. I was a young single mom, graduating from college with an English degree, and I was wondering how I was gonna support myself and my young son, who's now 20 years old. So I decided to go to law school. And luckily, my family supported me in that decision. Like I said, my mom's here, my daughter, their friends. I absolutely hated law school. But I love being a lawyer now. And while I was in law school, I began working with immigrant women who were survivors of domestic violence, and I found my life's work there. So today I'm an activist, I'm an immigrant rights lawyer. I've spent most of my career working with vulnerable populations, such as survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, unaccompanied immigrant children who are coming to the United States, fleeing persecution and extreme poverty, working with members of the LGBT community who face persecution in their home countries, and families, much like my own, seeking a place to live. I work closely with grassroots community leaders in organizing, utilizing my skills and knowledge as an empowerment tool for the community to advocate for humane immigration reforms and policies. And I have the privilege of working with undocumented members of the community who are an inspiration to me and who, by their own words, are undocumented, unafraid, and unapologetic. They are undocumented Americans in every sense of the word, who have made this country their own and belong here just as much as any of us do. Who work every day to make this country better for all of us, not knowing if immigration authorities will come knocking on their door on any given day to take them away or their families. I feel very privileged to work with these amazing people. In my experience, it is harder than ever now to be an immigrant in this country. Our immigration system is completely broken and is tearing our families and our communities apart. Many people ask me why immigrants don't just get their papers, or as many politicians often say, get in the back of the line. The truth is, there is no line. So let me just say that again, because this drives me absolutely crazy every time I hear people say that. there's no line. There's no line to get in the back of. And for many people, there's absolutely no process under our laws where they can obtain legal status. Additionally, especially since 2001, enforcement has been disproportionately prioritized, and most especially in these last few years. On any given day, we have 30,000 non-citizens detained in private prisons simply because of their undocumented status. And that is actually a congressional mandate, that we have 30,000 people detained on any given day. So as you can imagine, hearing Republicans talk about rounding up immigrants, people in our communities, and deporting everyone, or hearing racist, anti-Latina, Latino statements, it's very personal for me. But as an immigration lawyer, I also know that the current administration has supported more people, separated more families than any other administration in the history of this country. I know that they deport people every day who are living their lives and raising their families here in the United States. In fact, in violation of their own policies, immigration authorities deported one of my clients last week who had been living here since he was 16 years old, permanently separating him from his family, his 2 U.S. citizen daughters, his 10 siblings, and his mother, who all live here in the U.S. Today, we have hundreds of detained women engaging in a hunger strike to protest detention centers holding mothers and children in Texas and Arizona. The current administration has fought immigrant rights advocates to keep these jails open, and although they are hopefully slowly losing that battle, they continue to detain hundreds of families, in particular mothers and their children, who are coming to the United States seeking protection from persecution. A Hillary administration would continue down the same path. In fact, until recently, Hillary's campaign was taking money from the GEO Group and Corrections Corporation of America, the corporations that financially benefit from imprisoning immigrants and other people. She stopped recently when immigrant rights advocates called her out publicly for these donations. Hillary is now saying that she supports undocumented immigrant children and families. But just last summer, she was advocating for the quick deportation of unaccompanied children from Central America who were coming to the United States fleeing horrific violence in their countries. A few years ago, she was against driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. Her record is not consistent with fair and humane policies that will benefit our communities. We need someone in the White House who will not be bought off by private prison companies. We need someone who recognizes that we gain power and strength from being a nation of immigrants. And there's only one candidate who has demonstrated commitment to this. Does anyone have any idea who that may be? That's right, Bernie Sanders, of course. Bernie recently introduced a bill that would ban prisons from profiting from detention, including the detention of immigrants. Bernie publicly stated his support for the detained women who are engaging in hunger strikes in Texas and Arizona. Yeah. He believes that undocumented individuals should have a path to citizenship and has a history of standing against the exploitation of workers. There is no question in my mind that Bernie Sanders is the only candidate that will uphold fair and humane immigration policies. Let me tell you something else. No matter what anyone says, there is no such thing as a humane deportation. Deportations tear apart more than 200,000 families each year. We cannot allow this to continue. Bernie Sanders believes in the DREAM Act, which would grant protection and legal status to, as Bernie said, American kids who deserve the right to legally be in this country that they know is their home. Bernie knows that border security does not mean building a fence, but has consistently voted for security while ensuring a path to citizenship for the 11 million people that we have living here in our country already. He knows that the idea of immigrants pouring across our borders is a myth and a scare tactic pushed by racist, anti-immigrant politicians and pundits and promulgated by the media. As facts show us that net migration from Mexico is down to zero, and an increased number of immigrants are actually returning to Mexico. Very importantly, Bernie voted also consistently to prevent local law enforcement from freely collaborating with immigration agencies. He knows that collaboration of this type makes our communities less safe because people fear reporting crimes if they fear being detained and deported. Domestic violence survivors are afraid to report abuse when they are afraid that police will detain them. I currently represent a woman who was deported last year when the Waukegan Police Department turned her over to immigration when she reported that her husband sexually abused her. Her family found me after she had been deported, unfortunately, and we are working to bring her back so she can be reunited and fight for custody of her 3 children who now have to live with their abusive father. We need policies that prevent this type of collaboration. And we already have some of those policies in Cook County and in the city of Chicago, but we need those policies to extend all over Illinois and the rest of the country. But as we speak, the current administration is actually seeking to increase collaboration all around the country.
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. Although I often speak about immigration and immigrant rights, I have never done one of these speeches in a political context before because there's not really any candidates I have ever endorsed on immigration. So I am happy to be here today to say that for all of those reasons and many more that we're going to hear about, I support, and I hope you will too, and I know you do, Bernie Sanders for President of the United States.
Yeah!
That was awesome. Lilybeth Segarra has worked within Cook County Hospital System for 28 years. She's going to be talking about healthcare. She has been a trauma and intensive care nurse since 2006 and is now an integrated case manager. Lilybeth is a union steward and activist who's been involved with organizing, team lobbying for healthcare reform, single payer, patient ratios, and right to work. She has been involved in direct representation, but also in patient advocacy and policy work, both locally and nationally. Lilybeth is a political organizer for National Nurses United. Yay!
Yay! Let's feel the burn. Do we feel the burn?
Yeah!
We take this burn all the way to the streets, to the houses, to families. We have to make sure that they feel the burn too, okay? Good afternoon, women for Illinois, for Bernie Sanders. I am so super excited to be here with you guys. I'm incredibly proud to be here with you all today. It is at the same time that I'm humbled and inspired, knowing that so many people are organizing this political revolution, and not only for Bernie Sanders, but for the people. It is bold enough that to call that for the urgent needs facing communities and our entire community. My name is Lilybeth Segarra. I am a registered nurse. I am a proud member of National Nurses United, the first national union to endorse Bernie Sanders. And I think that women in this room should understand absolutely what Bernie stands for. Our union is composed of predominantly of women. And we all know, for the most part, women usually get it first because we are not the weakest gender. The members of NNU has the opportunity to stand up, make history, and endorse Bernie Sanders, a candidate that holds our values as not only registered nurses, but as women. We women are the ones that most often advocate for our families, and we come in protecting our families with health and safety. As registered nurses, we are required for the simple fact of our profession to be advocates. And I advocate for you, I advocate for my family, for my community, for my patients. Therefore, the qualities that Bernie Sanders represents are qualities that women have held most in our lives. Bernie is talking about a political revolution that puts these qualities first in our nation. Qualities which would have tremendous impact on the rest of the world. How do women working 2 jobs, and trust me, nurses work 2 and 3 jobs, because of the cost of educating, housing, feeding, and making sure our families have access to health care, insurance, and extraordinarily very costly. We work so hard and we pay the cost of our bodies and our health working 12-hour shifts, 5 to 7 days a week, because the greed of the corporations and billionaires who care only about getting themselves. The greed is killing us, and we'll need to put an end to this greed. How many of us will try to put an end to this greed? We know that too many of our sisters are struggling. They actually working at minimum wages, unable to provide even basics for their children and their families. And what of our undocumented sisters? We just heard it. Living in the shadows or in the margins of our nation, struggling to care for their children while always looking over their shoulder, frightened that they will be torn from their children at any time. I work in the front lines of healthcare every single day. And one of the many reasons I support Bernie Sanders is the position on women's reproductive health. I remember the days, thank you. I remember the days the days of backroom abortions when women died horribly death from hemorrhaging and infection. It was a public crisis, and we cannot afford to go back to those dark days. Those decisions should be between a woman and her doctor. Government does not have any business in exam rooms. Other moves by extreme right wing should sharply limit women's access to birth control and would reduce or eliminate coverage for certain types of birth control. It is a fact that when women can get pregnant when she's ready and she wants a child, abortion rates will drop. Poverty will also drop. We live in a world where women are not eligible for paid family leave. In fact, only a minority of relatively privileged women are today. I happen to be one of those. Imagine as a low-wage worker learning of an unplanned pregnancy, working several jobs and making ends meet. You may know that looking at a job loss, income loss, mounting medical bills, and reduced access to affordable childcare, this will be horrendous. Getting additional education becomes impossible. In short, unplanned pregnancy can mean the difference between making ends meet and homelessness to a chronic poverty in a family household. Bernie understands these issues and supports women's rights to choose. He supports the right to affordable birth control and supports the continued funding of vital work of Planned Parenthood. He supports paid leave absences and equal pay for equal work. Well, Bernie Sanders represents hope for the working women of this country. His platform includes cuts through the nonsense and demands common sense policies that liberate women, provides very necessary supports and services that we can take care of our families, come out of our shadows, and live with dignity. His agenda includes, as you know, expanding, improving, and making Medicare available for all, not as a privilege, but as a right for the migrant and the cost of living not for the country, but for millions of us paying thousands from our pay health insurance when we're really needed for access to care. How did we come to equate health insurance with healthcare? Well, insurance industry, that is how. The insurance industry, which reaps tremendous profits and at the expense of the health, and that's not right. Again, it is amazing that we have this moment in history, that we have the opportunity to elect Bernie Sanders. As I speak with more and more people, it is becoming more and more clear that a political revolution is indeed on the way. The nurses of National Nurses United is proud to be part of that revolution, and we're already working, canvassing, and getting signatures.
Yeah.
I was recently in Des Moines, Iowa, for the presidential debate, and not only that, I met Bernie Sanders. I think he's wonderful, but more importantly, I walked the neighborhoods and talked with working people and listened to their life stories. I know that we have a big job ahead of us, and I heard some politicians say yesterday that we're not yet to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I told them we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Change is never easy, but it is a political revolution, which all of you are part of. Yeah. We Illinois women for Bernie will continue to inspire, support, and work hard for our values, no matter the outcome of elections. And I'm feeling very confident that we can get Bernie Sanders to the White House, and I'm confident that we will continue to struggle once we elected him, but we will ensure to demand to heal this country and that this healing becomes a reality. And in conclusion, I want to leave you with a quote from Bernie Sanders. Enough is enough. And like all of us here today, I believe that we can win for the health of ourselves, our daughters, our women, our community, and for all. Thank you.
Nadia Daly is our next speaker, and she's from South Elgin. She lives with her husband and 4 children. Her background is really extensive. So she's had a 20-year career in travel industry covering 6 continents. Nadia was a counselor and navigator for VNA Healthcare during the first rollout of the Affordable Care Act. She was Director of Constituent Services for the Office of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Simon. She did campaign and fundraising training for Emily's List and Millstone Foundations. Nadia ran very close races in Republican strongholds like Kane County and Elgin Community College, which is battleground for the Tea Party. She volunteered for President Obama, Senator Durbin, and Governor Quinn. Recently, she's been an very active active volunteer for the Bernie Sanders campaign as a member of Kane County for Bernie Sanders and was selected as a delegate for the 6th Congressional District. Yay! Nadia's been fighting for many causes like single-payer healthcare, education, climate change, equal pay for women, income inequality, Black Lives Matter, and more. She started an outreach organization where she creates community events on these issues and others. Her passion is environment, and that's what she will speak on today. Introducing Nadia Daly.
Thank you, everyone, for coming here today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Shayna and Sharon and Jack for putting this event together. We need to hear the issues. It's very, very important. I love Bernie Sanders. I have been following Bernie Sanders on the Thom Hartmann show forever. Okay? And I learned a lot from him. So today I am going to talk about the environment, global warming, and of course everybody knows climate change. That is a very pressing issue. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women make up 52% of our population. Did you know that? We're very powerful. This is a lot of power, and when we put this power together with Bernie Sanders, we can make real change happen.
Yeah.
I believe that. In the last Democratic debate, Senator Sanders was asked, what was the most pressing issue of today? He replied, climate change. Indeed, he is correct, as usual. Let's review some history and how we got here. What is fossil fuel? Feel free to respond.
Oil.
Natural gas.
Coal.
That's correct. Oil and gas. And who owns a lot of oil and products made out of oil? That's right. Very good. For those of you who didn't hear it, it's the Koch brothers. And you need to know that name, okay? Because they are affecting everything in our society. They are also killing our democracy.
Yep.
So you need to read up and find out about them. And I do personally, I stopped going to Walmart. I do personal boycotts. And I ask you to please, in your own personal time, find out the products that the Koch brothers do and don't buy them. Okay, that's the way we could get at them. Okay. Fossil fuel is formed in the geological past from the remains of living organisms. Sea levels have risen over time and are causing havoc around the world. Greenhouse gases such as methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases, and carbon dioxide are trapping more heat in the Earth's atmosphere, which is causing temperatures to rise all over the world. And we have 3 culprits who uses fossil fuel the most, who pollutes the most. Unfortunately, we're number 1, China and India. We love those countries, but we have to address the fact that pollution is affecting our lives. According to the EPA climate change indicator, scientists say that there is more carbon dioxide than any other time in the last 650,000 years. When temperature rises, it affects weather patterns, snow and ice, plants, animals, and oceans. Glaciers are large sheets of snow and ice that are on land all year long, all over the world. In the last 50 years, the rate of glacier melting has sped up because of this pollution. When ice melts, the water expands, therefore the ocean rises. The warmer it gets, the more severe impact on people and the environment will be. Worldwide, from 2000 to 2009 was the warmest decade ever recorded. Today's problems come from yesterday's solutions. Fossil fuel was used to promote economic growth and development of our world. This solution created today's problems, environmental damages. Senator Sanders has called climate change a major national security threat. So have the Pentagon and the CIA. So this is how important it is. We must call on President Obama and all government officials to make Paris Climate Summit, which is going on right now. As the summit enters its second week, attendees will move toward agreements and decisions. We need to keep up the pressure on them to listen to the voices of ordinary citizens, not to corporate lobbyists. Please call the White House and your representatives and let them know that we are listening. Sustainability. This is a very difficult word and definition that people find hard to understand. It's basically using resources wisely and efficiently today while protecting resources for the future. So in other words, don't kill the environment today because your grandkids and your kids in the future will need it. Make it better for them. The green industry is now and it is the future, including manufacturing jobs, exports made in America to create revenue that we need to improve our economy. This is the new industry, and I cannot understand for the life of me why the rich people don't jump on this. We can make solar panels. We can make wind turbines. We can make solar cells to make the solar panels. We can do so much to create jobs that we need now, and they're not doing it. It makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
Exactly. What is the problem? Hopefully we can get Senator Sanders to the White House so that he can do a WPA in the green industry. We also need some answers about solar versus other renewable energy for homeowners. When they took the rebate, the politicians recently, I understand, took the rebate from the solar panels, the credit that you used to get, they took it away. I guess it expired or will expire. So you need to call your representatives and say that you want the credits, you want the rebates because you want to invest in solar panels. You don't only put solar panels on your roof, you can also put it on near your garden, on the ground to save electricity. and you can sell the leftover electricity to the company, to the electric companies. You need to look into that. So I'm going to give you some ideas. Okay, Green America is an organization, it's a magazine online with Greenpeace, is calling for the end to the use of toxic chemicals in clothing manufacture. As the Greenpeace report states, acceptable levels of hazardous chemicals are not acceptable. If you are wondering why we have so many autistic kids, it's due to the environment. I have a special needs child. My other two kids were perfectly fine, they didn't have any issues. But he has all kinds of health issues. So it's very important to pay attention to what's going on with the environment. Okay? Now, how can you be sustainable? You yourself can do it very easily. Here's some ideas. Think twice before shopping. We don't need all those things that we're buying, okay? We need to reuse, okay? Refurbish. Just reuse what you have. Don't waste. Make sure your big purchases have big environmental benefits. Like if you're buying washers and dryers, pay attention to that. When you go to the grocery store, you're buying food. Pay attention to the ingredients, okay? Ditch plastic, use cloth, use reusable water bottles, okay? Reusable grocery bags. There's an island in the Pacific that is full of plastic, so plastic bottles. So you need to help cut that back. So be wise and vote for Bernie Sanders. He will help us be healthy, get jobs, and all of the other things that we discussed. Go Bernie!
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexandra Eidenberg. She's a small business owner of the Insurance People. She has 3 kids under 3. She's a community activist. She runs her own insurance company, and she's the founder of Mom Plus Baby. And we fight, as you heard before, for rights of women and children in Illinois. She's also previously run for U.S. Congress against Luis Gutierrez in the 4th District, and actively lobbies on behalf of women, children, and works on local campaigns regularly.
Hey team, I'm excited to be here. I don't have any cool notes. I'm a mom of 3 under 2.5, so getting notes together never seems to happen in my neck of the woods. I'm a Bernie fan though, and it's been a little bit tricky for me to be a Bernie lover, and I'm gonna share that reason why. I have been on a mission for years to help women support women. So when I saw that Hillary was running, it was kind of hard for me to evaluate the situation and say, you know what, I'm taking a stance and I'm not going to support Hillary, I'm supporting Bernie. And the reason why, ladies, is Bernie supports us. And that's the big difference. And I think Hillary's great and I love supporting women, but ultimately, we have to stand up and support the candidate that's going to look out for our rights. If it's reproductive, if it's income, if it has to do with us being able to support our families and our children, we have to do it. So I became a Bernie fan along with Rebecca. We got on his bandwagon because he's doing amazing things. He's that one candidate that's not in the pocket of big banks, of big insurance companies, that's not going to allow his ideas to be controlled by someone else's money. And that's very important. That's important for women, that's important for children, and that's important for small business owners. I've been a small business owner now for 11 years. And let me tell you, people might think that it's great that I get to be with my kids and take them to gymnastics, but I'm working all night long and I'm working around the clock. And as a woman, I'm working even harder. Unfortunately, it's harder for me to get lending than it is for my husband to get lending. It's harder for me to have the opportunity to take out a credit card. It's harder for me to hire. It is harder for me to do every single thing just because I was born female, and it's not okay. We have to support one another. I'd like to take a moment. I think all of us are very glued to our phones often, so I want to encourage you to glue yourself to your phone for just a second. The way people win and the way people get elected is through word of mouth. You can assume that every single person is going to make it out to the polls. You can make a million assumptions, but we know to be true, Democrats do not make it out to the polls. Republicans do. If you want a Democrat to make it out for Bernie, you need to tell them. So I want you to take a moment and I want you to text somebody who you know is not a registered voter. Does anyone know a person who is not registered to vote? Awesome. Get that person in your mind, take out your phone. I want you to text them. I want you to say, I'd like to encourage you today to register to vote, and I'd like to get together with you for coffee and talk to you more about Bernie Sanders. The way Bernie Sanders will win is by you talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends, and talking to the people around you about what his campaign message is. We have to talk to more women and let them know what's going on. Because ultimately, women often vote for other women. And I don't think people really know what Hillary's gonna do to us. And that's a problem.
That's right, that's right.
Ultimately, whoever ends up on that Democratic ballot will earn my vote. But if there's any control for me to make it Bernie, I wanna make that happen. And that's what it's all about. So please, who's done their text message? Did you text your friend? Okay, great. We need some more text messages out there. I'm telling you, every single vote counts. I ran for US Congress against Luis Gutierrez. I took on an uphill race because I'm sick of people claiming to be Democrats and not getting the job done. We need real progressives making change. Now, mind you, everything in life you take on 20%, it's a big F minus, but I took on 20% on those ballots against Luis, so I consider that to be like an A+ in some sense, even though I didn't win. We have to support the underdogs. We have to support the people that are going to support us, and I guarantee you, Bernie is on your side. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. It's important to support one another and to vote for progressive Democrats who are going to make change in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, sorry to get off track. We're going back on track now. We are going to introduce Tara Stamps. Tara is a committed and decorated classroom teacher. She began teaching in the 37th Ward at Leslie Lewis Elementary School and currently teaches 5th grade at Jenner Elementary School. Tara is a staunch advocate for public schools and a leader within the Chicago Teachers Union. She's a dedicated community leader and a lifelong Chicagoan who spent the last 20 years working for strong neighborhood schools and good jobs, civil rights on the west side of Chicago. Tara ran for alderman in the 37th Ward earlier this year, nearly beat the machine incumbent Emma Mitz in a monumentous runoff election. Yay! Tara Stamps is elected as delegate for Bernie Sanders in the 7th Congressional District.
The sisters are doing it for themselves, standing on their own 2 feet and ringing on their own bell. Woo! I am Tara Stamps, and I want to thank the Women for Bernie of Illinois who had the gumption to say, would you come and speak? Because it is so critical that we pass this message on about who Bernie is and who he can be for women and for our country. And as a Black woman, that is a hard sell because, you know, the Clintons rubbed the Black folks up. And they an honorary Black man. I was like, okay. We won't hurl expletives yet. Okay, so I'm so glad. Where is she? The mother of 3 with the. I was so glad she came up and said, you know, I don't have like these wonderful little notes, you know, because I don't. I'm gonna tell you what's real for me, what's real for my community, what's real for my people, and why it's critical that we get this man elected. That's it. This country has gone to hell in a handbasket. And there are a whole lot of people feeling that, but there aren't too many people feeling that more than Black women.
Black women who are most often than not the least, the last, and the left out. Black women who for nonviolent crimes are the most arrested. 200,000 Black women are sitting in prisons right now. Millions of Black women have been incarcerated, being stripped away from their families for nonviolent crimes regularly. Black women like Sandra Bland and Rekia Boyd have been shot down by racist terrorists in our country more than anyone else, save young Black boys. Black girls and Black women are the most undereducated in schools that are failing, and not because the schools are failing, but because the government is failing the schools. And it's deliberate as hell. And if you all are not sick and tired of being sick and tired, I don't know what's wrong. But I know that I'm talking to the audience, so I'm not going to drill down on you all. Because we are here to participate in our own rescue. Mm-hmm. Bernie was sent to us to be able to do that just thing, because trust, after Barack, for most African Americans, Hillary was the most normal choice. Like, okay, she didn't win. You know, we got a Black man. And okay, so I'm here to tell you, for me, that the day is over where being Black is enough. The day is over for when being female is enough. Because Black folks and Black politricians in particular have devastated, they have been complicit, they have colluded with the people to destroy us. And these ridiculous pastors, I got on my whole personal campaign against them alone. And you know, you'll see the t-shirt soon. They'll be Black and that silhouette, a little white band say selling out Black people in the name of the Lord. Okay. So once I was able to, I couldn't say that when I was running. It was like, Tara, you can't do that. But now when I'm running, I can say all the stuff that I was really bubbling up inside, that I had to be like, hey. Because they're killing us. And so the day is over where we're going to be hand in hand with people who we know are prepared to do us grave harm. And are prepared to do our children grave harm. And are able to sleep at night knowing that. You know, I was out there with my daughter, who's 25, on Black Friday. I've been protesting Black Friday for a long time, so I was glad everybody else caught up with it. I was like, the hell with some Black Friday. We broke as hell. Why are y'all running out here to fight over some damn TVs? And you won't even be able to pay your rent January 1st. Stop. Stop this foolishness. How about you do some real revolutionary and save your damn money? How about that? And then sit down with your child and say, why you're not getting a new PlayStation? Why you're not getting the new ones? Why you're not getting all of that ridiculousness that does nothing to improve the quality of life of our families or communities at all? It serves to make poor people poorer. But you sure as hell don't see no millionaires breaking their damn necks to go out to Black Friday. A bunch of poor people of all creeds and colors, ready to get them damn devils called Koch brothers all their little money. I'm like, if you all understood who these brothers were and how evil they are, you would not be running your happy self to Walmart chasing that damn yellow dot. So we got a real big job ahead of us, guys. We got to do a lot of education. I'm so happy to see so many young people in the audience, because check this out. It's time to pass this torch. People love to say, well, you know, they're in office because the kids are just not ready. And that's a damn lie. If anything ever got done that was real and of substance, it was young, brazen, bold young people that said, rough that, I'm taking it to the mat, do what you do. It was all of those babies down in Birmingham that said, I'll get arrested, I'll stay out of school, that took on the turn of the civil rights movement. So anything of righteousness that meant something that happened in this country, young people did it. So guess what? I'm not going to stand in your way. You don't have to worry about mistakes. I am going to pass the baton on to you and run with it. Last week, with all of the politricians and the preachers. Oh, Jesus. I was like, the circus is in town. The circus is coming to town. Are back like at the starting line of the rally, and I promise you, I wish I had video. And they're like trying to figure out where everybody's going to stand around Jesse. And don't get me wrong, I rocks with Jesse. Right? I rocks with Jesse. Me and Jesse got the same birthday. Me and Jesse, you know, Jesse was my mom's boy. We cool, we good. And I love Jonathan. But it was just a mess to watch all of those political people and ridiculous, like, jockey for position at the protest. And like, wait. Lock hands. Okay, now, wait. Go to the right, go to the right. So I looked at my daughter, and she looked at me. I was like, the hell with this. The kids up the block, taking over Michigan Avenue. I'm with them. So my daughter and I chased down the young people who were leading the protest and stood in front of all the places I know my kids go stop at. Columbia store, Victoria's Secret. I was out there till late in the afternoon, just shutting the doors and blocking the doors. And it was so funny to hear people like, are you serious? You really can't shop? I was like, no, not today. And then my daughter, who was hell-bent on going to jail, I'm like, Nadja, that's not what we're doing. Nadja, we taking arrests like it's an organized thing. Like, you don't really know that. You're an organizer. She's just like, let's get it. Put your hands on me. I'm like, I'm gully as hell. I love it about you. But we're not going to jail. I got lesson plans to write. So, calm down. But what was so awesome is that those young people were deliberate and intentional and understood that this is wrong. And this is not just wrong for Black people. This is wrong for America. How can America in good conscience try to go tell any damn body else how to run their country when you shooting down your own countrymen on the street? How can you do that in good consciousness? How can you talk about terrorists and then allow people with a badge to chase a baby down the street and shoot them 16 times? How can you do that and then hide the tape? And then go steal the other tape and edit that tape. And then say, I was like, you got to see out your day. And now, if you know that tape existed, how many other tapes exist? And if you think it meant something to get rid of McCarty, big damn whoop. Get rid of Ron. So, everybody's out there like, Alvarez. And I was like, Rob did it. Rob did it. It's his fault. He killed them. He covered it up. I said, oh my God, they're going to get me. They're going to get me. And you know what I got to say to that? Bring it on, baby. Because I am unapologetic, unbought, and unbought. If it didn't come to God, it don't mean a damn thing to me. Because children's lives are at stake in the very quality of hard-working American people and poor people who want to work and want to live, and this country is at stake. And if we don't rise up and take our country back, we're going to be on the other side of some other gate talking about what we should have done. Like everybody's talking about, maybe we should have. There's a whole lot of people wishing they would have just gave the Mexican a chance. I was unpopular with that. I'm cool with being unpopular. I'm all right with that. Well, my unpopularity means that I'm on the right side. Because if being popular means that I got to get in bed with known snakes, I don't want to be popular with you, Hillary. I don't rock with you like that no more. You a sellout, you a cutthroat, you a corporate Democrat, and the only reason you still running yourself around your head talking about you a Democrat is for the female, Black, and Latino vote. If that was not at stake, Hillary would show who the hell she is. The thing is, we know. So it's our job to wake everybody else up and let them know it's okay to advocate for yourself. It's okay for you to want a better quality of life. It's okay for you to fight for quality public education in these yet to be United States of America. It's okay for you to want health care. It's okay for you to want a pension after you done worked 34 damn Black Jesus years. Yes, teachers in Illinois have to work 34 years to get their pension. Yes. And they want to call it a crisis. It's not a pension crisis. This is a revenue crisis. And there are all kinds of so many progressive opportunities for us to get the money back working in our system. They don't want to do it. Because that means they got to ruffle the feathers of the boys they done already made friends with. And you know that was you scratch my back, I scratch your back politics. And now you got people who are prepared to suffer and strike because they stole our money and spent it. They spent the damn money. Now they want us to pay it back. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? So look, I think that was my 5 minutes and I was concerned. All right, so this is the deal. This is what we got to do. Right now, I promise you I'm going to sit down. Young people, become deputy registrars. Register all the people you know. All the people on your social media groups, your LinkedIn's, your Instagrams, your Twitters, your Facebooks, your Snapchats, your all that. All those people, get them registered. At your school, set up tables in the lunchroom and register your peers. Register people to vote and have literature. And don't have to, if they tell you, well, you can't campaign, it's okay to register people to vote though. And let them know what are the issues that are important to you. And we need to support people who support the issues that are important to us and not just, you know, giving us lip service. Older people, pass the damn baton. Get out your comfort zone. Get out the way about what it should look like, what it should be like, and let young people do what is possible because they're going to inherit this planet. And they got to make sure, and we got to make sure that they get better than what we got. That we leave it better than what we found it. That's our job. And then if you know anybody in between, please impress upon them the urgency of now. And this is what I said to everybody that I encountered when I went door to door knocking. It's real simple for me. I just want for my neighbor what I want for myself. That's it. Have a good day.
Because everyone's talks are really inspiring, so I've been not good at cutting people off because I'm like, great, I want to hear what they have to say. Sorry. You're all amazing. I want to be friends with everyone. Come over to my house for coffee and drinks. Next up and last is Alyssa Gail Martin. She is the president and campaign manager of Columbia College, stands with Bernie Sanders. Alyssa's interest in politics started when she was the youngest digital intern for President Obama's Organizing for Action. During that time, she became a medicinal cannabis activist. Furthering her research, she found Bernie Sanders' belief that college education should be available to all individuals. That caught her attention, and from there, Alyssa became a huge supporter, but she felt she needed to do more. She gathered her friends and classmates by beginning to talk to them about the issues, and from there, she created a student organizing chapter at Columbia College. This is Alyssa.
Hi, everyone. So, I see some young people, millennials in the crowd. Could you all stand up, please? Yeah. Now, you guys take a really good look at each other. You guys are our future. And older people as well. Take a good look at them. This is our future, and this is exciting, guys. So, you guys can sit down now. So today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to make it chart here. College tuition rates. Exciting. So at Columbia, my loan is $39,000, so almost close to $40,000 a year. That's including room and board. So that's excluding grants and scholarships. And there's only a small percentage available, about 35% available grants and scholarships to the University of Illinois kids. And they have $28,000 a year with students still receiving little to small grants or scholarships. Interest rates are jumping from 6.8%. That's really high, even higher. It's going to 8, even 10. My mom right now is paying 7%. So where do we get this money from? We need to do major reform, as Bernie has said. Well, we need to do a high tax on Wall Street. Yeah, amen. $30 billion per year is needed to end world hunger, just by the way, and $737 billion per year is the amount of Congress spends on defense. It is important to have a defense system, but we have an overload. $47 billion to end public college tuition a year. So $47 billion, that's it. Out of $737 billion, look it up, look it up. So Bernie is passing, which Elizabeth Warren is advocating for, the College for All Act bill. And this basically puts a high tax on Wall Street and puts it back into the people and us millennials to be able to pay for college. Here's a little bit more personal note. My cousin, she's about 4 years older than me, she has a 3-year-old child, and she has about 2 more classes to go, but she pays out of pocket, and she's in debt. So please, millennials, we need to talk to our peers. We need to talk to people on, the grocery stores that we go grocery shopping in. We need to talk to the people on the train, whoever takes the transit. Any strangers that we sit by, just talk to them. Start a conversation. Connect with them and tell them Bernie is the way. We need to do this. All right, thank you.
So now we're gonna do our breakout groups, and that's kind of like a mix.